Good morning, everyone. It's 6 minutes after the hour. It's Friday, November the 8th of 2019, 29 degrees outside. Shane Tobin is alive and awake in Vancouver, British Columbia. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
All right. Glad to have you with us, as usual. So we're happy to be here. Hey, it's finally Friday, folks. Finally Friday. Those of you who work Monday through Friday, your work week is almost done, and we're happy about that for you. And we've got a Veterans Day weekend coming up, and we'll be here Monday, of course. We'll be here Monday, but, some of you will be off work and for the holiday, so we wish you safety and well out there, so take care of yourselves.
That's right, and a great 3-day weekend.
Absolutely. And the temperature may or may not cooperate with your 3-day weekend or not. We'll see. Today, though, it's going to be nice. We're going to be sunny with a high near 55. That's going to be pretty nice today. So enjoy the nice warm temperatures before they go away. And tonight, increasing clouds. We'll have a low about 35 overnight. And then Saturday, mostly cloudy with a high near 57. So should be a pretty nice Saturday to get out and do things. And then Saturday night, though, chance of rain between 11 and 5 a.m., then snow is likely. Cloudy with a low around 32. Chance of precipits about 60%. New accumulation of snow is about a half an inch maybe. And then on Sunday, rain and snow likely, possibly mixed with freezing rain before 11 o'clock in the morning for your church commute. And then rain between 11 and 3, and snow after 3 o'clock. Chance of precipits about 80%. New snow accumulation of less than 1 inch is possible on Sunday. Sunday night, chance of snow mixing with rain, freezing rain after 9 o'clock. Then gradually ending. Chance of precipits 50% Sunday night. And new snow accumulation of less than 1 inch is possible. So we're going to get about 3 days of snow for your happy Veterans Day weekend. Then on Veterans Day, it's going to get a little better. It's going to get sunny with a high near 40. And Veterans Monday night, it'll be 24 degrees. And Tuesday, mostly cloudy with a high back up near 49. Tuesday night, chance of rain, maybe after 11 o'clock. It'll be low. The low will be around right at freezing, 32 degrees. And then Wednesday, chance of rain or snow again, partly sunny with a high near 47. And then on Wednesday, partly cloudy with a low around 24. And Thursday, we're looking for mostly sunny with a high near 47. So knock your week out there. So we're going to get a little bit of snow and some rain and whatever. So be careful out there as you're traveling to wherever you're traveling to. Temperatures around the area right now, Livingston's 42 degrees, Manhattan's 21, Three Forks is 20 degrees, Gallatin Gateway's 30, Ennis is 31, Big Sky 29, at the airport in Belgrade it's 24 degrees, and it's 29 degrees right now at our lavishly appointed studios here in beautiful downtown Bozeman at 9 minutes after the hour of 6 a.m., and that's your weather for today.
So do you have a parade on Monday?
No, I don't think we have a parade on Monday. I think we have a 4th of July parade, but I don't think we do a Veterans parade. I don't know.
Do you have a monument to the fallen from World War One?
World War One? No.
No monument. Eh?
No, I don't. Not that I'm aware of, anyway. 522 talk is the number. If there's one here, we got the Vietnam Wall. I don't think we got anything for World War II either.
Yeah,
or the Korean War.
We lost so many men in World War I, as you know, that we have several parades in the Lower Mainland, and then and they usually start around 10 o'clock and end just before 11 at the official monuments that are in place, and most of them have all the names of the fallen.
Yeah,
it's sort of cool.
Yeah, 11/11/11.
11th hour, 11th month, 11th hour, 11th day. Yeah,
yep, that's right. Yeah. Well, I always enjoyed Veterans Day even before I was a veteran because we always got off school. We always got off school on and my birthday was the day before, so I got to play with my toys
It's a double whammy for you. Sunday's your birthday.
Yeah, it was a whammy. So, yeah.
Happy birthday to you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, knock it off.
Happy birthday.
Save it till Monday. Save it till Monday.
Happy birthday to you.
All right. Our poll question yesterday, are you currently working full-time? This was an interesting poll that we did, Shane. 65% of the people responding said yes, they have a full-time job.
Of course they do. Yeah.
8% said no, they work for part-time. Another 8% retired and loving it. 4% said yes, but it takes 2 jobs to do it. And we had some other comments. Working part-time while in school, self-employed, work as much as I want. I own my own business and work far more than full-time. I would agree with that if you own your own business. Full-time plus, because no one works in this town. Believe that. It's hard to find good people. Full-time job and full-time college, good for you. Retired, and I own my own business and work 40-hour days. So, yeah, that's absolutely true. Our poll question today, just out of curiosity, how long have you lived in Montana? And 53% so far are natives. 15% less than 20 years, 15% not a native, but over 20 years, and 7% less than 10 years. And one answer, I live in North Carolina. So thanks for listening. Thanks for listening in North Carolina. We're happy you're down there. So thanks for doing that. So, yeah, fun deal. So,
yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, we haven't heard anything yet from Bozeman Magazine. Yesterday was the last day to vote.
That's right.
You had up till midnight last night to vote. So I don't know if they'll. I assume they'll contact whoever won or however you did, or maybe the results will be posted on their website. I haven't gone over there to look, but we'll see. What's going on over there? Maybe go over there during the break and see. I doubt they'll have the votes tallied this quickly, but
it's all automated.
Well, it's you would think so. It should be so.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, happy birthday to Montana. 1889 on this date, Montana became the 41st state in the Union. Yay, good for them. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Got all kinds of firsts as far as. Its ranking. It's it's the third largest state in the union, and 43rd in the rank of.
We're the fourth largest.
Fourth largest.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, it's Alaska, Texas, California, Montana. That's right.
That's right.
Fourth. And ranked 43rd in population though, just over 1,062,000. But great for fifth in medium income, $54,000. So that's
not so bad, yeah.
And it doesn't have a booming economy, but it's a resource economy like Canada.
Yeah, so, we're an agri economy at the moment. Trying to get some industry. Well, high tech is, I think, where we're probably going to go. I don't know that we're going to have manufacturing here because we don't have a rail line. We don't have we don't have transportation to get stuff out of here. So
and weather.
Yeah, and weather too plays into it. We're an attractive place for high tech to come. So.
Yeah, but a lot of firsts. The first union, first Montana, first Congresswoman to the House, like we talked about.
Yep, Jeanette Rankin. Yeah.
That's right.
I think we should have two intersecting streets. One should be File and one should be Rankin, so we can have Rankin File.
There you go, Rankin File.
Right, Rankin File. That'll work. Well,
everyone would meet there.
I'll talk to Krause about that. Maybe he can make that a proclamation before he leaves on December 31st.
Yeah, it's got to be downtown, so it's a starting point for all parades.
Yeah. We do. What do we got? Black Street? I don't know. We don't need a Black Street. We need a Rankin and File Street. So anyway. All right, let's take a break and do our. We'll see if we can get the Montana News and Agriculture to play today. Cross your fingers. I don't know. It wouldn't do it yesterday, but let's see if we can get her done today. I'll try that right now. Here we go. 23 minutes after the hour, it's Friday. Finally Friday, November 8th, 2019. It's 28 degrees outside. We're looking for a high of 55 today. Shane Matobin, half man, half amazing, is on the line with me. Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor, and this is the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. And on this date, Shane, in 1892, former President Grover Cleveland beat incumbent Benjamin Harrison, becoming the only president to win non-consecutive terms in the White House.
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing story that he finds himself in a situation as one of two Democrats, himself and Woodrow Wilson, that won the presidency, between 1864 or 1860, Lincoln, and then 1933.
Yeah,
but he was a conservative, what was called a Bourbon Democrat. He's fiscally conservative, and the other problem is that there had been a pretty devastating depression in 1893, which we talked about, the gold fish scandal, the Panic of '83, and so they sort of blamed that, on the Democrats, and so the Republicans had a landslide in 1894, and they sort of carried that through into the 20th century. He didn't really manage to accomplish anything great. He of course, oversaw the Industrial Revolution and the transition from an agrarian society to industrial society, and trying to maintain an understanding of the boom-bust cycle that people found themselves in, this new concept of capitalism. So
yeah.
It's just one of those interesting things. He came after he was succeeded by Benjamin Harrison the first time, and basically when Harrison, McKinley, Chester Arthur, and
Yeah.
there you go, Benjamin Harris. Yeah. Not much. That's it.
If Trump were to lose in 2020, do you think he would run again in 2024? He certainly could.
Oh, he could, but no, I don't think
He'd be fairly old then.
Yeah, no, I don't think. Yeah, no, I
don't think so.
No, I think he's ready to retire to Florida and basically turn everything over to his children.
Yeah.
I mean, what he's done. He's had a pretty remarkable life. So.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, on this date, 1923, Adolf Hitler launched the first attempt to seize power with a failed coup in Munich, Germany.
Yeah, they always make such a big thing about this. I mean, this was just it was in the fall. It was Oktoberfest, and him and a bunch of guys they got drunk and went into the streets, complaining about the government. And,
yeah.
But because of what it was not a very strong attempt. They were all drunk and got arrested and thrown in jail. A couple of them got shot. Unfortunately, this is not really one of those events that he should be, given credit for. I mean, it was actually the beer hall push, they called it.
Yeah.
And anyway, what he did find, though, as a result of going to bars and getting drunk with people, they responded to him better. So it actually led him to go around to Germany and start having meetings in bar parlors, they were called, because of the Oktoberfest that Germans celebrate with their beer. They have these huge barn-like gathering places for it, We have them in Quebec. They're similar, because of the maple syrup celebration, where you go and eat food. And, oh, my gosh, the food's incredible. But anyway, yeah, it sort of gave him a lead up to a cheap way to get up in front of people that are drunk and tell them how great his idea was about fascism.
Yeah. Well, in 1960, Massachusetts Senator John F. Kennedy defeated Vice President Richard Nixon in the presidential election, and every president since Lincoln, that was elected in every 20 years election ending in 0, was assassinated.
Yeah.
100 years of assassinated presidents in our country.
Right. Yeah, it's one of those things that you find amazing, and this, by most accounts, probably Kennedy and Nixon was very close. The 49.7% to 49.5% for Nixon.
Yeah, they said Chicago was the difference. Cook County.
Yeah, and even though the Electoral College was different, he won 303 votes. Nixon 219, 269 were needed. Mm-hmm. But it was the first time, 14 electors from Mississippi and Alabama refused to support Kennedy when they went to Washington to write. But he had enough, so
he had enough to win anyway. Yeah,
he had enough to win. But it's one of those interesting things because in 2016, all the talking heads talked about it, and none of them looked it up. Like, has this happened before? Yes.
Yes, it has. Yeah. Well, two things I want to get in. We got to go. 1971, Led Zeppelin 4, which included Stairway to Heaven, was released. And also in 1994, Republicans gained control of the House of Representatives for the first time in 40 years. Wow. So, all right, we got to go. We'll be back with local stuff right after the news at the bottom of the hour. Scott Sales will join us at 7 o'clock, and the county commissioners will be in here at 8, and we'll talk about the recent election, I guess, plus where do we go from here. So all that's ahead, so stay tuned. A lot more to come on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. We'll be back right after the news. Stay tuned. 25 minutes for the top of the hour. It's Friday, November 8, 2019, 29 degrees outside. Looking for a high of 55 degrees today. Shane Metalman, half man, half amazing's on the line with me. Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor. And this is the KMMS Morning Soapbox. And, in local news, we're talking about HRDC has bought the apartment building at Babcock and Tracy. And that building has been required to be federally subsidized housing, and HRDC is going to keep it that way. It had another 3 years to go, and the owner could have done anything he wanted to do with it. He could have kicked the low-rent guys out and raised the rent, but he didn't do that. He sold it to HRDC. So they're going to keep it a property for low-cost or low-income folks to live downtown, and I think that's a good thing. It's not going to change anything, and it's the answer to low-cost housing is just someone who says, hey, let's keep it the way it was, and we'll sell it to somebody who'll keep it that way. So why not? Sound like a good deal to me. Right? Wouldn't you say?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Well, we had on our website at KMMSAM.com, we had the story, we posted the story yesterday that we have 2 fossilized dinosaur skeletons. Looks like a final death match they're in. And this was found on some property here in Montana. And apparently these things are in pretty good shape, and they could be worth more than $5 million to the couple. But Shane, but
for the state,
but are fossils minerals? And these folks don't apparently own the mineral rights to their property. And in many cases, unless you make that a strict part of the property sale where you get the mineral rights, the water rights, anything below the ground, then, you don't have those rights. You split them up with somebody else. So they're in court to decide, are fossils minerals or not? Are they? What are they?
I don't see them as being minerals, no.
Well, the lower court said, yeah, they are, and the Ninth Circuit sent it back to the Montana Supreme Court.
Wow. To
check it out. So, it's the dispute. When someone can own, someone can own what's on top of a piece of land, others can own mineral like oil, gas, coal, and what's found below the surface. So in property sales, an owner can keep some or all of those below surface rights, but you got to pay for, I guess, whoever owns those rights if the property owner doesn't. So, you got to negotiate that deal. So, but
yeah, same with water rights. You always make sure that if you buy property, that you got no matter where.
Yeah, you got the water rights to it.
Yes, you got the water rights.
Yeah, the outcome is key to a dispute over ownership because these things could be worth more than $5 million or so. Mary Ann and Liege Murray own the surface rights, and 1/3 of the mineral rights on the ranch near Jordan, where brothers Jerry and Robert Severson own 2/3 of the mineral rights after a 2005 property sale. Neither side expected to find dinosaurs on the property, and they're not mentioned in the contract court documents, but a few months later, amateur paleologist Clayton Phipps discovered a 22-foot-long carnivorous theropod and a 28-long plant-eating ceratopsin believed to have died 66 million years ago. Imprints of the dinosaur skin were found. So there you are. So apparently these things are pretty rare, and apparently there's a nice price tag on them. And so depending on, will the two mineral owners have to split the profits or what on this? So I guess the courts are going to decide who goes out ahead in this dino fight. So only in Montana can you fight over dinosaurs? I mean, come on.
That's a good one.
This has got to be a great place to live, man. I just love it here.
Last best place.
That's right, Matt. Last best place on earth. All right, we got to take another quick break. We'll be back in a couple minutes right after this. 18 minutes for the top of the hour. Shaman Taubman, half man, half amazing on the line. Tommy Goloff, your morning mayor. Welcome to the KMMS Morning Soapbox. Big Sky has released its first ever growth plan, Shane. They want to identify the projects residents would like in the town, and those include all sorts of things: an indoor ice rink and a fitness area, classrooms, music pavilion, all kinds of things that the folks down in Big Sky would like to have indoors. Since they only have about 2 weeks of summer.
That's right, exactly. Like, and it, this is a precursor to, and we can afford to do it.
That's right. Yeah, well, they got the big bucks down there, so residents really want some more indoor recreation. They've raised $19.9 million for a community center that will include a fitness area, classrooms, music pavilion, ice rink, and the center is scheduled to open in summer of 2021. And in addition, residents would like an indoor pool and more space for public gatherings. To improve recreation, residents want to expand parks and trails, and, of course, maintain access to public lands and increase pedestrian and bike safety. So, good for them. Yeah. Why not, huh?
Good. I like that.
Let's fill that Big Sky with bike lanes and trails and all that stuff. Yeah, that'll work. Well, in some other distressing news, a former caretaker was sentenced this week to 20 years in the Montana State women's prison with 15 years suspended. I don't think I would have suspended her sentence at all. She defrauded a quadriplegic client out of more than $300,000. And Bridget Coulter, 36, is required to pay $343,000 in restitution to the victim's family. Upon her release, she would have to notify potential employees of the conviction. And she appeared Wednesday in front of Judge John Brown, pleaded guilty to exploitation of an older person and identity theft, both felonies. And in September of 2017, somebody reported her to the police, and that she had used the woman's ATM card and taken out loans in her name and bought stuff with credit cards and all kinds of terrible stuff. So, man, she was the caretaker for this poor woman and had access to her financial, or had power of attorney, I guess, to her financial whatever. And so pretty sad that that people take advantage of folks like that. But I don't know. Sometimes we just have folks that just don't have any feelings at all, apparently.
Nope.
Well, in better news, the Cannery Department, the Cannery District, yes, Cannery District. If you know where that is, out near Oak Street, they are the Cannery Flats is a project between the Cannery District partners and Chicago-based Monroe Residential Partners, and they broke ground roughly 3 weeks ago. Cannery Flats will add 140 parking spots to the already existing parking there, and leasing for apartments will begin in the spring of 2020. They're going to put up a nice apartment building there, 52 units, 4 stories, and so they'll have, doesn't say anything, I don't think, about them being low rent. They probably won't be in that area, but apartments are a mix of studios, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom units, with penthouse 2-bedroom units that are larger than the rest. The ceilings in all units will be 9 feet tall, and they'll rent for studio apartments will begin at $1,100 a month. So not exactly affordable housing for the whatever. But anyway, they'll also 15,000 feet of commercial space will be in the mix, and so they can have some retail there as well. So look for that to go up. And looks like a pretty nice place in the artist rendering of what it's going to look like. So hopefully, well, more places to live here in town. And so good deal, I guess, if you like it. if you want to pay the big bucks for it. I don't know what it rents in Vancouver. They got to be off the charts.
They are.
Yeah.
We have like 1.8%. 99.2% occupancy.
Yeah.
So there's.
Yeah. So
we have, we've got 22,000 empty condos and apartments because people, they're trying to deal with that. Yeah. So anyway, to live with someone, $600 to $900.
Wow.
To live in a closet, a walk-in closet, $900.
Yeah. Wow.
To rent a small 1-bedroom apartment, $1,500 to $1,800, and $18,000 to $5,000 to rent a house. So yeah, not cheap, incredibly expensive.
Wow. Yeah. Now, is there a Vancouver U there, or do they have a university or something like that?
There's several. There's the University of British Columbia, BCIT, British Columbia, Institute of Technology, and a couple other colleges that are well known and well respected, have a number of chairs in them. So yeah, we have a college population in excess of 25,000 people in the city.
Wow. And I'm assuming college is paid for entirely by the state, of course.
No.
It's not? Wow. So you're not a socialist mecca after all?
No.
What's tuition at these places, like
well,
$100,000?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, similar to yours. It depends on the school. Like the University of British Columbia has a law school, so yeah, that's the cost. It is a
little more, yeah.
My nephew went through the program to become a lawyer, and he came out the other end just in law school, not college, just law school. $65,000.
Wow.
Of debt, and. He had another $20,000 from getting his degree before going into law school.
So they have student loan situations there as well in Canada, like we do here.
Yeah, they tend to lend money pretty easily if you're doing well, but the predicate is you have to be doing well.
Yeah. So it's based on your grades or attendance, or
on your grades and attendance. And the other thing, the big one, is if you can get a TA, teacher's assistance, and which he did, going to university, he got a TA, and he gets paid for that.
Right.
So he had income, so that generated the.
So that helped a little bit, or otherwise you probably had more.
But he also had 2 kids. He at 18 ended up having a child, married, having another child. So he ended up raising 2 kids on his own and going to school. So it's his son just graduated from high school. So.
Wow. All right.
It can be done.
All right. We got to take another short break here. We're back in, what are we back in? 3 minutes. Hang on. 6 minutes before the top of the hour. We've got a caller calling in on our call-in line, so let's go to the phones. 522-TALK is the number, 522-8255. Caller, you're on the air. Turn your radio down, please.
Okay. Daniel R. Peterson gives my brother some mental gymnastics for the morning. I just met a HRDC person that teaches home buying. So these are people that start with no money to say, she said that, say, a $240,000 house. So she cautions them that after a 30-year mortgage, it's going to be more like paying $400,000. So the questions for you then is, where this $100 and some thousand go? Does the bank need that much money just to plug you into a computer so it monitors if you're paying your money? And the second question is, well, it's my money they're giving him anyway. It's not the bank's money. It's all kinds of people that save money that the bank is giving them. Isn't $100 and some thousand profit a little extreme?
Well, I don't.
Somebody that is trying to buy a cheap house.
Well, I wouldn't say it's $100,000 in profit, because there is somebody has to work to process that loan and take the payments and do all the things for 30 years. So, it's not $100 or $100,000 free and clear. The bank will sell that loan to a mortgage company or some entity somewhere, and they will maintain the loan. And if you're late, there'll be fees for your being late on your payment, or you can pay double if you want to reduce the interest. But that's the way home loans work, and have since, as far as I know, the beginning of home loans. They've always kind of been that way.
Yeah, but it doesn't make it right. Just like if enough people say something, it still doesn't make it true.
Well, but they've I don't know. You can't maintain the loan for free.
Well, yeah, but if you get, it looks like it's pushing $150,000 in 30 years, and they're doing. They can do thousands of people at once to monitor them. It doesn't take. You don't have one worker to watch one home buyer.
No, but you may have thousands of workers to take care of thousands of or millions of home buyers. And the other thing you got to realize is that more than likely, depending on where it is, of course, as long as you're not in Detroit or somewhere like that, the property will probably appreciate. You're going to be able to sell it for much more than you probably initially paid for it. You may be able to get all of your money back on the home.
Yeah, the other factor is this is a $240,000 house that's probably going to be in a aging neighborhood already, and you're going to have a ratty house in a
there's no guarantee of that
neighborhood by the time 30 years goes by.
Well, look at the houses on Wilson. They're not too ratty, I don't think, and a lot of them are more than 100 years old.
But they're not $240,000
But they were at the time they were built, or less, or probably less than that when they were built. And they're still there. And, they've been sold numerous times. And that's the nice thing about homes is that they are sold and resold. And people are able to, buy and own a home. You don't own the property, unfortunately. That's always been my pet peeve, that if you pay off your home, you should own the property it sits on. But no, the government owns your land, not your home.
Yeah, and there's also the saying you go underwater that you may not be able to sell your house for that kind of money in these days.
Well, that's true. Yeah, you've got to be a responsible, a responsible credit risk. So, and if you are a responsible credit risk, you'll pay less interest as well on that home. The better your credit is, the less interest you'll pay, so the cheaper the house will be in the long run.
Yeah. Well, the chances are the people that are trying to get a house with little or nothing through HRDC are not real good credit
That
people.
would be true, yeah.
But,
I got to go, Daniel. I'm sorry.
Label it,
I'm up against the clock.
Labeling people is not the best
no, it isn't.
way of approaching the world.
All right. Hey, thanks for the call. I got to go.
Okay,
thanks much.
Thank you again.
Bye-bye. All right, we'll be back with Scott Sales at 7 o'clock, so stay tuned. Good morning, everyone. It's 6 minutes after the hour. It's Friday, November 8th, 2019. Scott Sales is in the house. How you doing, Scott?
Good, Tom. How are you?
Glad to have you here. Thanks for coming in, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's nice to be here.
You're running for some office. SOS?
Yeah.
SOS, we need it.
Save our shit. Secretary of State. Yeah, Tom, I'm terming out of the Senate. I've been in the legislature now approaching 16 years.
Yeah.
I get paroled next year.
Wow. All right. So you're ready to continue public service and go on with the... a lot of us are Secretary of State encompasses a lot of things. We're what aside from you do business names, you do corporate registrations and things like that. What else does the Secretary of State do? You do
well, I'd say the two biggest responsibilities of the Secretary of State would be, one, you interpret the election laws and oversee the elections in the 56 counties.
Okay, yeah.
And I've been out on the road traveling, visiting face to face with the clerks and recorders. If I'm lucky enough to become Secretary of State, I want to reestablish that partnership with those county election administrators and clerks and recorders. I know in the current state of affairs that hasn't been as robust, that relationship, as it possibly could be. So I'm hearing that from people as I travel around the state. So
smaller communities feel like they're being ignored?
Well,
or
not just the small ones, the larger ones too.
Really?
It's kind of been go it alone. There's been some changes at the Secretary of State's office that I think are good. They've reduced headcount. They've trimmed the budget, and so they're doing things a little bit more efficiently. But I think a really important aspect is the customer service side of what the Secretary of State does, just not on the elections, but also on the business. I've heard that personal element has been removed to some degree. So I need to take a look at that if I end up getting the job, and it's something I want to address.
Yeah.
And then and obviously it's important. Voting is one of the, in my opinion, most sacred of our constitutional rights, and that integrity and security needs to be maintained. The second thing that the Secretary of State does that I think that has a big impact on the state is you're a member, one of the 5 members of the Land Board. One of every 18 sections of land in the state of Montana is owned by the state. Yeah. Constitutionally, the Land Board's obligated to maximize the revenue that comes off those lands for the public schools. But you make all kinds of decisions on land use, whether you're going to develop coal, natural gas, oil on those state lands, as well as timber, how much timber you're going to harvest. Legislature typically sets that, but the Land Board would decide what gets cut and what doesn't. And so in conjunction with the Department of Natural Resources, that's a big deal. access to those state lands. People like to recreate on them and the like. And then there's just this whole, then you have the business registration side of the business that you were referring to, where if you want to do business in the state of Montana, you got to register with the Secretary of State, either as a business or a nonprofit. Yeah. And then there's a whole sundry list of stuff. You're responsible for maintaining the state's seal, keeping the records of the administration, keeping the records of the legislature, notary publics. Yeah. It just goes on and on and on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, we one of the things, I guess, being a kind of a pro-business guy, the Secretary of State issues business licenses and corporation and things like that. Right. Has there been a resistance in the past to that office? Have they been a proponent of new business? Have they been kind of iffy about new business?
I think that office has been pretty pro-business for long as I can remember. Mm-hmm. I think Corey Stapleton, he's had a few unforced errors, in his tenure there, but they've been more political than they have, to the business side. Mm-hmm. I know they've streamlined things. They've made them more online. In fact, they're all online now.
An LLC is a one-page form you can fill out to become a corporation, and I encourage everybody, if you're in business at all, to at least be an LLC.
So I think he's done a good job of trying to make it the office business friendly in terms of making it easy to do business in the state of Montana. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's always room for improvement, regardless of who you are. And,
sure.
I have a business background myself. I've been in the private sector my whole entire career. Yeah. Worked for Hewlett Packard for a couple of years when I first got out of college. Then I had a chance to work for a high-tech startup for approaching 16 years, and then I've had my own little small business, agricultural business myself. So I've got a keen interest in business, and I've got a voting record in Helena for 16 years that proves that I'm a guy that thinks less regulation, lower taxes, and more personal freedom are all very important aspects of
I'm not
free
sure
enterprise.
The Secretary of State has those powers.
Well, no, but certainly working with conjunction with the legislature and the governor.
No, that's what that was my next question. The relationship between you having been in government for a long time, obviously, the people to go to and the people to talk to and say, we need this, we need that, and.
It depends on how the election turns out, but if the Republicans prevail and have their majorities in both the House and Senate, and I think the governor's mansion's teed up for the Republicans after 16 years of Democrat rule, then the Secretary of State, me in particular, I think would have a lot of, a fair amount of influence because, like you say, I have relationships with all those individuals.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I've worked with them for a long, long time, and a lot of them have voted for me for President of the Senate and Speaker of the House over the years. So.
I was going to say I don't want to use the negative word quid pro quo.
No, we don't want to touch that. But certainly, I know how the place works, and I know who the players are, and the guy I think is going to be Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate in the 2021 session were my roommates last session. So they both were the Speaker pro tem in the House and President pro tem in the Senate. So I've got the knowledge, I've got the experience, and I've got the relationships that I think I can use that office to help facilitate some change that would be positive for the business and property rights and numerous other things in the state.
Yeah. What are the one or two things you want to accomplish, provided you're elected to this position?
Well, what you are explaining to the listeners is absolutely true. There's really, outside of just the day-to-day operation and interpreting election laws and you don't make laws as Secretary of State. You just have to basically interpret and do what the legislature dictates. But
I'm thinking about internally. You've worked with the Secretary of State before, and it's not necessarily the person maybe as much as it is the bureaucracy of the office. Or is there a streamlining process you're thinking about? Or
I think a lot of that's already been done. So I would evaluate what has been done, the difference between the McCulloch administration and Corey Stapleton. Has it worked? Has it been good? Are we seeing the efficiencies that we'd like to?
Keep the good things.
Keep the good things and maybe change some others. One of the things I have heard is for guys like you and me, and you're probably a lot more tech savvy than I am, but I've heard that now that they've gone completely online, there isn't even a person to call if you have a question or you would like to do a paper form. There's none of that.
Oh,
I've heard from older people that are still in business that don't do that. I mean, they're old school. They would like to see some exceptions or some accommodation for people that don't have the technical or the internet expertise to do that. So that's something I would look at immediately, is restoring that potential interface that people have with a human being. I know when I call up Bank of America or I call up CenturyLink and I get someone that speaks poor English or doesn't speak English at all, or just a computer that is an automated system
of some kind.
It's very frustrating.
Yeah, it really is. Or go to our website, it'll answer your questions, or go do this or go do that. And I would agree. I think a lot of people would at some point, because maybe their question's complicated, or maybe they're it's some legal aspect tied to it, and they need someone that can sit down and say, yeah, that's okay for you to do that, or no, you better rethink that.
Yeah, I think that would be one of the first things I address. And then the second thing is, I've been talking to all these clerks and recorders, and I've spoke to over 20 of them so far, is that they would really like to see that, and this would take an act of the legislature and the governor to sign it. But we used to, now that we have same-day voter registration, election day is extremely hectic. And I would like to, and I didn't support same-day voter registration. That was a Brad Johnson effort that was pushed through in 2005. And this is at the suggestion of the vast majority. I mean, like out of the 26 I've talked to, 24 have said they would like to see that voter registration backed up to the Friday before. And I don't think it's too much to expect something as important as voting to be that people take the initiative and the personal responsibility to get registered to vote a couple days beforehand.
Well, and that gives them a chance to check everything out, and it won't slow down the election process or the tally of votes and things like that.
And oftentimes now we're looking at two of the largest counties, Missoula and Bozeman.
Yeah.
We don't get the election results until mid-morning the day after.
The day after, yeah. Well, let's take a quick phone call. Caller, you're on the air with Scott Sales. What's going on?
Hi, I'm really interested in hearing more of those property rights things he wants to do.
Okay.
Well,
okay. That's all. I'll get off the line so I can hear.
All right, thank you.
The property rights part of it, like we've discussed, the Secretary of State isn't a policy passing type organization or position.
You implement property rights.
So what I was referring to is those state lands that the Secretary of State is one of those 5 members on the land board that makes those type of decisions. And those state lands that the ones that really pay, all of them that pay, it's the private sector people that either buy the timber off the land, pay for the grazing, pay for the, if it's tillable land, they're raising wheat on it, or, it's leases for coal, oil, and gas. And we need to be attentive to the needs of these private sector producers that have infrastructure on this property, or let's say it's people that, have a grazing lease and they have a private water right on their own land, but maybe there's no water on the land that the state owns. We just passed a bill that basically said, no, the state, if a person has infrastructure where they're taking water off their private land to put it on a piece of state ground so that cattle can graze on it, the state doesn't own that water right. That belongs to the individual that developed the right on their own piece of private property. So that's what I'm referring to, is making decisions that are beneficial to maximizing the amount of revenue that we can generate for the schools in the state of Montana. But at the same time, as a person that really enjoys the outdoors, in fact, I was out elk hunting this week and was lucky enough to kill a bull on private land. I understand access.
Good for you.
So, and I have a little piece of private ground myself that I allow hunting on from time to time. So I understand that we need to also do it. That's a double-edged sword, and two things that we need to maintain simultaneously is maximizing revenue for the state, for the schools, but at the same time allowing our people to recreate on the state lands to the largest extent that it doesn't deter from that primary constitutional goal.
Okay. We got to take a quick break. We're talking with Scott Sales, running for Secretary of State of the state of Montana, and we'll be back with more with Scott right after this. 23 minutes after the hour, Scott Sales is in the house, and Shema Taubman's on the line from Vancouver, British Columbia, and Scott is running for the Secretary of State of the state of Montana, and we're happy to have you in the studio today to kind of explain a little bit to maybe people don't understand exactly what the Secretary of State entails. We sort of have an idea if we've ever had to deal with you,
right?
With a driver's license or a land dispute or something like that. But let's get back to the land thing, because one of the things that you're a native, I think, of Montana, are you not?
Actually, I was born in Wyoming, raised in Idaho, and I've lived here for now approaching 28 years.
Okay, so
yeah, lived here a while.
Yeah. We have lost timber mills. We've lost. We can't drill. We can't mine. We can't harvest anything. Is being on the land board? How much is it strictly the legislature, and they just say, if you want to log this parcel, and they say no, is that the end of the story?
No, actually, the way it works on the timber, the way I understand it, is that the legislature sets sustainable timber harvest limits on every few years. They look and say, are we cutting too much timber, or are we actually behind? Is the growth on our state forest occurring at a higher rate than we're currently logging? So a couple different times over that 16 years, we've adjusted it up where we said, we could actually cut more timber than we currently are. Yeah. That's the decision that's made by the legislature. What the land board then does is takes that information and applies it directly to the land. Okay, we're going to log this section, or we're going to log that section, or we're not going to log that section, or we're going to do a land swap here. Potentially this is critical habitat, and we could sell this piece of property, and then we can acquire a different piece of property. Kind of a good example would be there's a half section of land just north of town here, just maybe a couple miles past where I live, out towards Spring Hill, that's owned by the state. Town has been encroaching and encroaching. It's a very valuable piece of land, and it's they raise grain on it. It's smack dab, real close to right up against the mountain. From a development standpoint, it's worth a small fortune. You could take that if the state was to sell that piece of land. And it really doesn't have a lot of recreational value either, because one shot and the critters are off it, and you have to be extremely careful where you shoot anyway, because you have houses on 3 of the 4 sides.
Yeah.
So maybe the right thing to do is and the state has the ability to do this, is to sell that piece of land and maybe go buy 10 times or 20 times that amount of agricultural land somewhere else. That land, and utilize the profit from that to buy a different piece of land that they can either, sell timber off it. They could either do a grazing lease on it or they could a piece of agricultural land. So that's why those are the type of decisions. They also make decisions based on conservation easements, whether or not the state is going to acquire a conservation easement. I don't know if you remember, about a year and a half ago, there was a big dust up at the land board and the governor's office pertaining to a Horse Creek property out by Webo that the governor wanted to do it, and the land board said no, and then he went ahead and did the conservation easement, or the easement, without the land board approval. I, as president of the Senate, asked for the opinion of the Attorney General. The Attorney General agreed with me that the governor had broken the law. The governor went to the Supreme Court and overruled it. So these are the type of issues that the land board deals with.
Right, yeah.
As well as a bunch of others.
Yeah. One of our texters would like to know, how many businesses have you owned, and can you talk a little bit about that business? Or
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, the very first business I owned was a lawn mowing business back when I was about 8 years old till I was about 16. So I, at an early age, understood free enterprise. And then I got a degree in industrial business, went to work for Hewlett-Packard, and then as a purchasing agent. And then I had the chance to go to work for a startup that spun off of HP, and that's how I got to Bozeman, as we opened an office that company did in 1990, did a lot of recruiting of computer science and double E's. So I ran the purchasing for that organization and then was a salesperson for them for a long period of time. The only business that I've owned as an adult, even though I've been in the business environment my whole entire life, is have a small custom haying and cattle business north of town. And I sold my cows a number of years ago, but I still do some haying out there as my old body here allows. Yeah, so right. It's something I still do. It's something I enjoy a great deal, and it keeps me connected to the land and keeps me connected to the agricultural community.
Yeah. Well, we're getting low on time here. Any final thoughts we need to cover here before you?
Well, I would just say if you want to learn more about Scott Sales, I think I'm fairly well known down here in the Gallatin because I've represented the House and Senate districts in this county and Broadwater County and part of Lewis and Clark County for a long time. Go out to my website. That's scottsales4montana.com. And then there's a really good in-depth interview that was done by the Montana Free Press. If you go just Google Montana Free Press, and Scott Sales, search on it. There's about a 40-minute interview that talks about every one of the subject matters we just discussed, only in much more greater detail.
Well, good. Well, we'll pass that along to everybody, and we appreciate you coming in. Always good to see you, and good luck. We hope you prevail, and I think you'll be good for the state. So
I'll keep on working. Thanks, Tom.
Have a good time. All right.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be back with more local stuff right after the news, so stay tuned. 24 minutes for the top of the hour. It's finally Friday, November 8th, 2019. 29 degrees outside. We're looking for a high of 55 today. Shay Matabin, half man, half amazing, on the line with me.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's here. Quiet during the Scott Sales comment, but they don't have a Secretary of State in Canada, so... Or do you?
Well, we have some. Yes, we have some.
Yeah, the equivalent, right?
We have a
Secretary of the Commonwealth
and the Secretary of State.
A Secretary of the Queen.
Oh, a minister in the government.
Minister of State. All right.
They're not called secretaries. They're called ministers.
All right. Well, let's see. Let's catch up on our text line here because we kind of put it on hold while Scott was in. And let's see, can't vote for Scott Sales unless he's a businessman. Just joking. Scott is a conservative and has my vote. So there you are.
That's good.
Oh, let's see. I'm curious. I have property in Lewis and Clark County. In the past, I've received my Gallatin County tax statement at the same time or before the property tax statement after Election Day in Gallatin County. But before the election in Lewis and Clark, a reason why Gallatin is delayed. Shouldn't people know their tax increase before voting on more increases? Well, that'll be a question we can ask the county commissioners when they come in. As to property tax bills, as far as I know, should have been mailed out. But I agree with the caller. We should probably get them out before the election so you can see what you're going to pay, and then you can vote accordingly. I always thought Election Day should be the day after April 15th when we do our taxes. That would do it. Let's see. When do we find out if Mayor Tom has the most luscious voice in Bozeman? I'm not sure. I don't know how they're. I don't know if they're going to announce it on their website at bozemanmagazine.com. I don't know if they've got the winners up over there. I haven't gone over there to look. I should probably do that during the break and see if anything is going on there. Let's see. Also, talking about Daniel R. Peterson, envy is a sin. And Mr. Peterson has no concept of the time value of money or the best use of capital. Mortgages allow people to actually buy a property without having to have saved up the full cost of the property. And let's see, sounds like the dinosaur fight involves two sides of the same family. Amazing how money can split up families. Greed is disgusting. Well, if you missed that story, over near Jordan, these people found two dinosaurs who died fighting, I guess, or whatever. And it's worth about $5 million, but they're in court deciding whether our dinosaurs minerals or not. Do they have the mineral rights to this deal? So I guess we'll find out. But let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number, 522-8255. Calling you on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
Good morning, Tom and Shane.
Hey.
This is Jerry.
Yeah.
I'd like to say Happy Veterans Day. I guess it's a little early.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you for your service, Tom.
Oh.
And I would encourage everybody out there to hug a vet. You know, or shake their hand, get down to the VFW or the American Legion, and just walk in there and thank those gentlemen and ladies for their service. After all, ever since Korea through the rest of the conflicts, the veterans have not been received well when they've returned home. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Tom, you say you don't know if what the voting is like at this time?
I don't at the moment. It ended at midnight last night, so they may be tallying votes. I have no idea. I was going to go over to their website at montanamagazine.com to see if they posted anything over there as yet. But,
all right.
Yeah.
A quick question:
Sure.
Is it possible if you don't win, we can impeach the winner?
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I would.
That's all I wanted to know.
Yep. We'd be fully in favor of that, right, Shane? Yeah.
I don't know. I can't hear him.
You can't hear him?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, yeah, I'm all for impeachment. If you guys don't,
Is your phone off?
Shane's.
Yeah. Is your phone off, Shane?
Nope.
Oh well.
Oh, he must be. It must be that minister of phone technology.
That's
up
it.
there.
That's it. I'm sure.
One more thing I'd like to add.
Sure.
The caller yesterday, who after complaining that the billionaires don't spread enough money around, turned around and mentioned something about the Constitution, and quoted the Constitution by saying to provide for the common defense, and also use the word provide for the general welfare. And that's not true. It's promote the general welfare.
Right. Mm-hmm.
There's a big difference between providing and promoting.
Right. Yeah.
So we don't need to provide for the government shouldn't provide. That means handing out money willy-nilly. They should promote the general welfare so that everyone has liberty, freedom to do the things to get ahead and to be, self-motivated. That's what promotion means to me. But I just wanted to get that across. And of course, this is coming from a gentleman who believes the Constitution is outdated. And
of course,
so, yeah. So I'm wondering why he was even quoting it in the first place. But, But he's entitled to his opinion, and that's why your show is on the air, and everybody's opinion is welcome.
That's for sure. Yep. We may not always agree with you. We may challenge your thoughts, but hey, your views are always welcome. So come on in. Come on in and take the heat.
That's what real freedom is the ability to express themselves. And those veterans in the past fought and died so that people could do that.
Amen.
All right. Thanks.
Hey, thanks much. Appreciate it. Thanks for the call. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. We've got to take a quick break here, Shane. We'll see if we can get your phone figured out, and we'll be right back. 15 minutes for the top of the hour. Shane Taubman, half man, half amazing's on the line with me in Vancouver, British Columbia. Tom Eaglehoff, your morning mayor, morning moron, whatever I am. And this is the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. And from our text line, 478-8298, they're probably going to save it to publish in the magazine. And I think that's probably right. They probably won't announce any winners, and it'll come out in the December issue probably of the Bozeman magazine. So we'll have to wait and see who the winners are. So unless I can get some inside info from somebody at Bozeman magazine. But let's take a quick phone call. 522-TALK is the number, 522-8255. Caller, you're on the air. What's going on?
Well, good morning, Thomas.
Hey, I promised not to hang up on you today.
Oh, it was you, and it wasn't my phone, huh?
It wasn't your phone. No, I accidentally hit the because somebody else was calling, and once I have somebody on the line, then I can take a second call, and I hit you by mistake. So I apologize.
No problem. But, to promote the general welfare, how does the federal government do that? Well, obviously, one of the things is going to be commerce with other nations. That's handled at the national level. Commerce between the states, uniform coinage of money, the postal system, naturalization, bankruptcy, copyright, patent, treaties, things like that.
And issuing FISA warrants to spy on you.
That too. But that's what it's all about, to keep the states from being at each other's throats.
Right.
So it's a thing that applies nationally, not state by state. And it ain't about sending somebody a check because they got 3 kids and no job and live in a basement Cold War flat. That's what it's for, to keep the states from being at each other's throats, which I think that's pretty simple to understand, though.
Mm-hmm.
And it works.
Well, yeah, I think the whole precept to it, realizing what was going on in the 1780s in France and the guillotine and the anarchy, the founding fathers were looking at this and going, how do we set this up so there isn't anarchy? That there isn't a revolt, there isn't a civil war.
Right. No Jacobin.
Exactly. So yeah, it's an interesting concept to create a federal system that isn't superior to the individual rights of in this case, states, right?
Exactly.
The inner part of the country.
It just makes things easier. Could you imagine if there was a different form of money in every state?
You went through that
at one
period.
time.
Yeah, you went through that period.
Just like the post office and all the other things that I mentioned on the list and treaties. I mean, that's it. It just makes sense to me. Now they do overstep their bounds. Don't get me wrong. They've done it many, many times that they're not living up to the law anymore. So maybe that'll change too.
Well, we have an interesting thing from our text line, Pete, as long as we're on this topic. I've heard the preamble doesn't have the force of a law. It's just an introduction. Is it part of the...
The preamble sets out the intent of what follows.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, too.
So
it's a goal. It's a mission statement, if you want to make it that. Yeah.
Right. Here's where we're going. And what a lot of people don't know is there is a preamble to the Bill of Rights. Mm-hmm. And it explains the intent of that. And the intent of the Bill of Rights is to keep the government out of our business.
Yeah, and that was the whole point, because when Madison and Jefferson and Monroe, they're principally the 3 Virginians that wrote your Constitution. When they brought it to the Continental Congress, they all looked at it and they said, there's no specific guidelines. I mean, yeah, it's a great document, and it sets up the government, and that's good too. But there's no provisions, there's no guidelines to prevent certain things from happening, and that's why they established the Bill of Rights. Because when you read the individual Bill of Rights, like freedom of press, there's a reason it was number 1. Everyone wanted to have the right to speak freely, and there's a reason that number 2, was the right to bear arms to defend number 1, right?
Exactly, and then that's why if you look at it logically. When we can't talk about things and settle our differences, when you're going to walk all over the people,
that's right.
Then the Second Amendment comes into play. We're not going to have that, And I think that's also why they put a preamble with the Bill of Rights. These are special places that you're not to interfere with. These are rights that don't come. They don't come from you, the government. There are rights. They come from a higher order, and I I mean, that's why, everybody wants to do away with this amendment, especially the Second Amendment. Everybody wants to, I think the Second Amendment is pretty specific.
Well, that's why the progressive left is so insistent on secularism. They're so insistent of separation of church and state. They're so insistent on protecting minority rights because to them
it's a power that they don't have, Shane.
But no, I know it's not. Problem. But they keep trying to change it. That's what I'm saying. They're trying to change it. Right,
and they want to change it because it's a power that they don't have, and they want all the power.
Yeah,
they don't want us to have any. They want it all. Period. And there was a big argument over to include the Bill of Rights or not, because it's not necessary. All the powers that the federal government have are laid out in the in Article 1, Section 8.
And the scary thing is they get that power, and the next step is world government, and that's what it is. Right?
Yeah.
Well, right. And if you look around the world and look at the governments and the way they're run and the problems that they're having, and they never seem to solve anything, who the hell thinks that you're going to have a world government that's going to be better? They can't even manage nation states.
Yeah,
but you get more than 3 people in a room, they can't agree on anything anyway.
Exactly.
But they'll have some great cocktail parties, and they'll still be able to fly in planes to anywhere in the world they want.
Gotta go, Pete.
Yep, have a good one, guys.
All right, thanks much. All right. Shane, we got a caller waiting. If you could talk to them for just a second. We'll be back in 90 seconds. Hang on. 5 minutes for the top of the hour. We've got a caller waiting on the line. Let's go to the phones. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you're on the air. What's going on?
Yeah, so woke up this morning, and, the city puts these street sweeping signs out on either side of the road, 6 a.m. in the morning.
Wow.
Okay. So I don't know anybody that wakes up at 6 a.m., and I'm pretty sure the city employees start at 8. So what kind of asinine ticket is this you Bozeman people are giving out to other people that waking up at 6 in the morning? You want us to wake up at 6 in the morning to move our trucks? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
There's not enough room to park on either side of the street for all the cars on the street. So it's like a money-making scheme because they know nobody's going to wake up at 6 in the morning to move the cars. And you know what? I just drove around all the streets where it says today 6 a.m. to 5, and there's nobody working on the street. So what the heck are you guys giving us tickets for if you're not even working on the street? I call this a thumbs down for Bozeman. We got a bunch of city a-holes reaping money and ripping people off for no reason at all. You could wait till 8 o'clock to tell me to move my goddamn truck, okay?
Yeah.
Screw the city of Bozeman. Screw you people. Thank you.
All right. Hey, thanks for the call. All right. Well, I'd agree. If they're putting the signs out there at 6 in the morning, I know there are city workers that clear the streets here because they're working when I come to work at 4:45 in the morning sometimes. So some of them do work before 6 a.m., but I agree with the caller. Usually those signs are put out a day or two ahead to let you know. But if they're out there nailing them in at 6 in the morning and then coming along giving people tickets, I'd agree with the caller. I think that sucks.
Well, it is the 21st century, right? So, this isn't difficult for a yard that a government has with all the equipment to make signs that say, Monday to Friday. I mean, we have these signs.
Well, yeah.
Monday to Friday, no parking in the time, right?
Yeah.
Or street cleaning Tuesdays and Fridays.
Well, that's what they do. They come along and they put these signs in the ground. They drive them in with they're on a wooden stake and they pound them in with a hammer but they usually put them in a day or so ahead that no parking on Wednesday or Friday or Saturday or something like that for street cleaning or something like that. But if they're going out there at 6 in the morning and putting them in, and then the cops are coming along giving people tickets, that sucks. That's not right. You need to know that's going to happen. I'd take my ticket down there and I'd say, hey, these signs weren't put up they weren't put up in a timely manner. Let's say.
That's right. Yeah.
And they're still not there sweeping the
right.
streets. So let's.
Yeah.
I'm with the caller on this one. I think that if they're out there pounding the things in at 6 a.m. and then the cops are coming along writing tickets, well, that's a scam.
Well, if anyone else's business did, it would be called a scam.
Yeah. Well, from our text line 478-8298, I get up at 6. They put the signs up the night before, so I guess if they're putting up with notice, I guess it depends on what time. Usually they put them up the day before, so when you get home from work, you see the sign there. But I don't know when they do it. But anyway.
Well, look, the bottom line here is very simple, easy solution. You get a week's grace. Put the sign up.
Yeah.
Make it permanent, and a week from the day they put the sign in, they start giving tickets. There you go. I mean, that's reasonable. Right?
Yeah. Well, we do have signs around that say no parking between 2 a.m. and 7 a.m. or things like that downtown. So they can come along. Sign. Yeah.
When they put up a new sign, they can't ticket people for a week. People have to have a right to get to know that.
Well, I would think so. I would think usually the ones I've seen anyway, when I lived in town, they put them up a couple days before, but maybe they're pressed for time or pressed for people or whatever. But anyway.
Well, we have a section of downtown called the West End, and very dense. So everybody buys, a parking ticket.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Then there's no parking on the street because they're the only ones that can.
Okay, there you are. Well, we have that around the university, too, that you got to buy a parking place. You got to buy a parking permit around the university.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
And some schools. So, all right, we'll be back with the 5 things you need to know right after the news at the top of the hour, and so stay tuned for that. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to the final segment of Open for Business. Shane Taubman, half man, half amazing, on the line with me, Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor. It is 6 minutes after the hour of 8 a.m. It's Friday, November 8th, 2019, 31 degrees outside. We're looking for a high of 55 degrees today. And from our text line regarding the parking situation and the street cleaning and whatever, that's a topic we need to talk about. Let's see. Bear with me on this text. It's kind of convoluted because sometimes when things come in on the text line, they come in various points here. So let's see. I think the point of the street sweeping was that there wasn't anywhere else to put your car because Bozeman has allowed growth, whether or not there's infrastructure for it or not. So where are you supposed to move your car to? If we're really not going to sweep the streets till 8 a.m., I get his point about why I'm supposed to get up at 6 and move my car when there's no place to put it. Why not require me to move it, which means that I have to leave my house at the time that you're actually going to be working on it. It sounds like apparently he got a ticket at 6 a.m. and he's not too happy about it because he doesn't know what else he's supposed to do. So to some extent, I agree with that caller. So if that's in fact the issue, that there isn't a place to go because of the parking or whatever.
Let's talk real quick about common sense. Okay.
All right.
Common sense tells me most people go and leave their home to go to work at, say, 8 o'clock because they got to be at work at 9. So wouldn't it be a good thing with regards to common sense that for the benefit of what everyone wants to see here, the streets cleaned and someone not getting a ticket, that, they start to clean the streets, say, at 9 o'clock? So after people have left and gone to work.
That would be the intelligent thing to do, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, Don Seifert is in our waiting room, I think. So I don't know.
Oh,
I think he's gonna walk down the hall. If not, we'll get him in here by the break time. So, but yeah, well, it is a situation because parking, no matter where you are in Bozeman, I think is an issue. And we do expect street cleaners and things like that, and particularly when they do the leaves. And as I've told people, don't rake your yard. Don't rake it out in the street for the people to come by and sweep it up, because they're just going to make it into compost and sell it back to you. So. Use it yourself. I mean, it's very important you leave the leaves where they are. They're a part of the ecosystem. They cushion your grass and all of that. So let's
feed your grass and make it grow stronger.
Well, yeah, let's do that. So, all right, I'm going to take a early break here and go get Don, because apparently I'm not sure why he's not looking in the window and coming in, but anyway, we'll be right back with City Commissioner Don Seifert right after this. 13 minutes after the hour, Don Seifert, County Commissioner, rather, I should say, joins me in studio. And
morning, Tom.
Glad to have you here. And down in flames once again.
Yeah, the voters have spoken, and the voters are always right in this business.
Well, that's what they tell me anyway. So,
yeah.
Well, I guess. It's we were saying back to the drawing board, but you said we don't have a drawing board to go back to. So.
No, and I got to say, this is really the second great project we had. We had a great project with the city. The voters voted it down. Yeah. I thought this was a good project. Voters voted it down. So we'll see where we go. The problem's still there. It has not gone away.
Yeah. Well, I still think you got to change the name to the Tom and Shane Home for Homeless Puppies.
If that would work, we'll do it.
That'll work. What do you think, Shane?
Yeah.
Tom and Shane, Homeless Puppies? Come on, who would not vote for that?
Yeah, it's a winner. It's a winner.
Well, keep that in mind, okay? We'll be happy to lend our names to the new building.
Maybe we could sell advertising rights, something to the building. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the other costs that were in there, of course, the demolition of the old building and some improvements on the street, Dickerson and whatever, posed by the city were, added to the cost of the building. And so. Yeah,
we were going to have to tear the old one down and haul it out to Logan. That's a big expense.
Yeah, that is a big expense, yeah.
We had over $500,000 worth of impact fees and other fees from the city. We're going to be required, and you can form your own opinion, but, our lots were all going to have to be paved and stormwater.
Maybe you need to put it out in the county.
I got an interesting email this morning from a citizen out at Belgrade saying, "Hey, move to Belgrade. We want you." Yeah. But we're required to be inside of the city limits of the county seat.
The county seat, yeah.
So that really, quite honestly, limits where we can go.
Yeah, limits where you can go. Yep. So, what else is in the future then? What do we? I guess we can't talk about this topic anymore. At least not till the next election or whatever.
Yeah. No, it's it's always an interesting experience. I have to say that one of the real disappointing things to me was that we had just a shade over 40% turnout, and it's kind of disappointing that around 60% of the voters in the county were willing to let somebody else make that decision for them. So,
yeah. And that's
regardless how they voted.
Yeah, that's what Shane and I were talking about. About 25% of that group that showed up made the decision. So, you got about 20% of the population making the decision for you. So,
So that's
Shane was on top of that the other day. Yeah. Right, where we're talking, Shane.
Yeah. Well, it upsets me that in North America, most elections are decided by a plurality, and it's very sad.
Yeah. That's true.
I will say West Yellowstone rolled in at about 60% of voter turnout, and Three Forks was over 50. I think they were around 55%. City of Bozeman, City of Belgrade were pushing right up there to about 35%.
Yeah, that's a shame. So let's take a quick phone call. Caller, you're on the air with Don Seifert. What's up?
Hi, it's Gay.
Hey, Gay.
Just wait a little bit. Hi. Just wait a little bit. You can put it in Costco.
There you are.
Sure, right? if we didn't have to put in a stoplight, or if we didn't have to transport prisoners from our current detention center down there.
Negotiate that with the city, but like
Yeah.
I said, just wait a little bit. You'll be able to put it in the Costco building.
Yeah.
That's a big building.
You know,
Or build it on Kmart.
build it on Kmart. We've actually looked at some of those things, and historically, if you begin to look at repurposing those types of buildings for specialty buildings like a courtroom and a place to put your sheriff, it's not cheap.
Yeah, it's hard to do. Yeah.
And-
Well, you could just leave the police in the old building with the jail, and then move all the judges and all that other stuff, because most of those trials are done by video. So you can just you only need to haul a few prisoners a day over there. So
Yeah, there you are.
just leave it like that. Because, like I said, the Costco's just had about enough of the city of Bozeman. Have a good day.
Yeah. Well, I think the Law and Justice Center has too. If you're talking about all the improvements that had to be there. Thanks, Gabe. Let's take another call. See what listeners have to say. Caller, you on the air? What's going on?
Well, I've got an idea for you that might help. I'll throw this in the mix. This town is big into education. So what you need to do the next time, it's got to be a next time around. You've got to somehow sell this as a place not only to rehabilitate bad actors, but also to educate them. And maybe you get some of these people who love education on board.
And that there's a little bit of truth to that. One thing I will say is when we talk about bad actors, and kudos to our Sheriff Kutkin, when our recidivism rate coming out of the detention center is below 20% right now, and that's phenomenal. I mean, most of the places, if you can get it under 50% recidivism, it's a miracle. And the programs that Sheriff Kutkin has put into that detention facility, the mental health issues, everything else, we're doing a great job in our detention center. We really are. And that's kudos to Sheriff on that.
Yeah. Oh, good. Hey, good suggestion. Thanks for the call.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
I appreciate it. Bye.
All that said, I'm beginning to like the idea of the puppy thing.
The puppy thing, yeah. Well, I mean, come on, I stole that from the Democrats. Pro-choice, climate change.
Yeah,
you should call it the Climate Change Center.
Oh, yeah.
And the Cindy Andrews will be first in line to vote for it.
I heard a good word the other day, and it was called climate variability.
Ooh, there you are.
And I'm thinking that's a good name too.
Yeah. The more vague we can make it, the better it is. So.
Yeah.
Well, what we tried 3 or 4 times to get the jail done, and what'll this be the 3rd time this has gone down? I think.
In one form or another.
Yeah. Because I think the first one we were debating on 2 sites, an Oak Street site and the Pruitt site, and then the next one we were kind of in the same thing where we are now. So.
And when the voters decided, however many years ago, that the detention center was going to be on that site, that has really committed the county to being on that site for the next 100 years.
Yeah. Well, and we did the same thing with the jail. We tore the old jail down and hauled it to Logan, and we had the expense of that as well. So this isn't that much different than what we did it then, except that every time we turn it down, it gets more expensive to do.
Construction's going up at 8% a year. So in 3 years, the same building's going to cost 25% more.
Yeah.
And
we're probably not going to have the low interest rates that we had this time to do the bonds.
Yeah, the bonds are at a historic low rate right now. But if not now, when? And it's not now, so I can't tell you when.
Well, the timing was a little inopportune because we got a high school to pay for. We got a building safety center. See, they changed the name. They made it the Safety Center.
And Puppy Town.
Puppy Town, yeah. So, but when people start looking at their tax bills, and then they got hit with a big tax assessment increase,
that's interesting. I went out and pulled a couple of tax bills that I'm familiar with, and even I had to laugh. On social media, everybody was saying, "Oh, my taxes went up 20% and all that other stuff." Yeah. If you actually look at what the county's responsible on your taxes, generally speaking, and I know not everybody's the same, but if you lived in the rural portion of the county and didn't make any substantial improvements to your house to increase the assessment to your house substantially. Your taxes went down. The county portion of your taxes went down. Not a lot, but they didn't go up. The exception to that is the voters voted in a few years ago a 9 mil levy for public safety, 911, some radios, that type of thing, because that's a levy. That portion of it did go up. Same way with the open space, right? That portion.
And you have levies that go down every once in a while too,
exactly.
that expire or whatever, for whatever reason.
So
the other thing that went along with that, I think, is that we had some texters that were wondering why are the tax bills coming out after the election? Shouldn't they be out before the election? Yeah,
for those guys that have got their tinfoil hats on, they're still statutorily, where they should be. There was we implemented some new software into our accounting system. The old software that we had was not going to be supported anymore, and part of that was a tax module. And because Montana has got sort of a strange tax situation, our tax laws, and we're a very small population, most of the software people, matter of fact, the only software people that really
don't really make one for a state of our size.
Yeah, and so they, we've only got 1 million people, right? Yeah. And so they had to rework that a little bit, and that's the reason why those were late. Now, all of that said, the person.
Is there a window the state requires?
Yeah, we have. There is a date.
Okay.
That statutorily
you can't go beyond,
or
you're not supposed to go beyond. Yeah.
Okay. And quite honestly, we pushed that. We were right there. I should get the treasurer.
They're in the mail now, are they not?
Yeah. Okay. And they've been online. They've been available online for 2 weeks, something like that.
Okay.
But they. I should bring the treasurer over sometime. She's the elected official responsible for collecting the taxes.
Yeah.
And
why don't we do that? Or plan that somewhere in the future to do
over.
that. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's take a quick phone call. Caller, thanks for waiting. You're on the air with Don Seifert. What's going on?
No means no. No means no. No means no.
Yeah.
No means no. Okay? Why don't you guys start a GoFundMe page and see if you can get those 11,000 people that voted for the Law and Justice Center to write a check to build it. Because otherwise, all they're doing is voting for other people to pay for it. They're not voting for their pocketbooks. They're trying to make me and my mom and everybody else who can't afford it pay for it. You guys need to do your freaking jobs. Here's an example. The other day, there's a UFC fighter who's supposed to fight in a heavyweight fight coming up in December. But his stepdaughter gets kidnapped, okay? The guy that kidnapped his stepdaughter, they still haven't found her, but they found him, was out on bond because the court system is not run properly. You guys are never going to fix the problems unless you address the root of the problems. Going after one branch on a system of problems that has 8,000 branches is not going to fix it. You need to get to the base of the tree. You guys are just mind-bogglingly greedy, ignorant, and just unwilling to understand that no means no.
All right. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, interesting part about that is the district courts are a state issue. We're just required to house them. So if you want to change the courts, go to Helena. Good luck with that. And, if you expect the sheriff to show up when you've got a problem, that'll be an issue too.
Okay. From our text line, 478-8298, if they try again, they should consider calling it the Social Justice Center. Bozeman voters would certainly vote for it if it was Social Justice or Social Warrior Headquarters.
That's sort of got a certain vibe to it.
That's got a vibe to it, doesn't it? Yeah, Social Justice Center sounds great.
Yeah, right.
So we'll do that, I guess.
We should have some sort of a contest for
you should.
Great line.
Name this unvotable, unpassable building.
Maybe the No Me No building.
How about courthouse?
Well, we've already got a courthouse.
And that's one of the odd things is, the county administrative offices are in the courthouse.
Right.
We've called it the courthouse since, I don't know when,
forever,
but for a long time. And there's no court in there. So I don't know.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't know. And maybe we should start a campaign to rename.
Maybe you should change the courthouse to the Law and Justice Center and then call the courthouse the courthouse.
I like that.
Let's just change that. Let's just flip that over.
Sure. I like that.
Clearly, I didn't make myself clear.
Sorry about that, Shane.
Let's go to the phones. Get one more call in here. Calling you on the air. What's going on?
This is Clint.
Hey, Clint. What's up?
Well,
Morning, good sir.
you're talking to my friend there, Don Seifert.
Morning, Clint.
Morning, Don. God, hell, didn't you?
You know what? If you can't take the slings and arrow in this job, you don't deserve to be here.
That's right. I agree there. Well, the thing is what I'm looking at is the city. I don't think that the county should be paying the city any impact fees at all. We already hooked up to sewer and water and everything else. That's one thing that bugged the hell out of me.
Yeah.
And the next thing is these, like President Trump said, the rules and regulations, like he said, to build a highway takes 20 years to get all the permits done.
Mm-hmm.
To build it, that's stupid.
Yep.
And to some of the things that we had to do, like the stoplights and stuff, maybe it's needed and maybe it isn't needed. But what I'm looking at is this. I'm kind of a tightwad, so to speak. And I was thinking on the south side of that gymnasium, build another building right alongside of it, the size of the gymnasium, and that'd take care of everything you really needed, especially after the city moves out.
Yeah.
That was my thinking all the time, was to remodel it. And I got a friend of mine, a couple of them, that built that building, and I know what it is. And so, and then, of course, Pete, he was the boiler man for all the county. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
And the voters out here, the county and the farmers and ranchers and stuff that have to vote on this here, they can't afford it. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reasons it failed. Because, and Tom said it earlier, it's because of the new schools and and mill levies and some other things that's happened, that they're looking at their bottom line, and so that's basically what I'm saying to you, Don. It's why it failed, and I was against it. You know that.
I know you were, and I appreciate those that were against it. Like I say, this is the way we operate around here. Is the voters are always right.
Yeah.
Well, before I tried to get the city of Belgrade and the city of Bozeman to come together on a sewer system, and I think Tom knows about that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Real quick, Clint, I'm up against the bottom of the hour.
And they wouldn't do that, and it was the reason they wouldn't do that is because of the politics. It wasn't about the people out here that needed it. It was about the politics of the two cities.
Yep. All right. Got to go. Hey, thanks.
Anyway, thanks, Don, for coming on.
Nice visiting with you, Clint.
Have a great weekend.
All right. You want to hang around, or?
Sure, I'll hang around for a bit.
Yeah, for another break. You were kind of late getting in here.
I'm not bleeding to death yet.
Not bleeding yet. All right. We'll be back with more with Don right after this. 24 minutes for the top of the hour. Don Seifert, County Commissioner, joins me in studio. Shane Taubman, half man, half amazing, on the line. And let's talk about property taxes a little bit, because people are going to start getting their thing in the mail.
Yeah, they'll. I think they hit the mail maybe Monday or Tuesday, and so they should be rolling.
So they should be rolling in.
Yeah.
Any day now. And
yeah. A
lot of people got hit with a pretty good assessment the last time around. We got calls on it that, oh my gosh, this thing went up so much. And I guess those who've already got their bills know whether it went up substantially or whether it didn't go up or went down or whatever.
Yeah,
based on where they are.
Yeah,
obviously.
And that gets kind of confusing. You think your assessment goes up, so your tax is going to go up, and there's that possibility, most certainly. From the county standpoint, what we do is we levy dollars, or we budget in dollars, and then we go out and we look at what our county assessment is, which through a magic formula is broken down to what our mill value is.
Right.
And we say, okay, in order to reach our budget amount that is regulated by the state to be 1/2 of the rolling rate of 3-year inflation, right? So if it's 2% inflation for 3 years, we can only raise our taxes 1%. So we figure out how many dollars we need, and then we make and calculate the amount of mills that we need to levy to meet those dollars. And I've been commissioner now I'm in my 5th year, my 5th budget, just got through that. And we have lowered the number of mills every year. So we've levied less mills, And when we spread it over more people, a growth rate of 3% in a valley, generally speaking, the amount that the county levies for property tax owners has stayed the same or gone down or possibly up a little, depending
As
on
I said, depends on where you are and what
type of property,
property you have and those things. But
the schools, that's where a lot of it is. 65% of the countywide, 65%.
Yeah, we wanted to talk about that a little bit because obviously we got a new high school. They got another elementary school planned, and they're probably going to have a school a year for the next 5 years or something like that. With the growth that we're seeing, because you're getting 10 people a day in the county, something like that.
Yeah, 10 people a day, and sort of put that in terms that you can really look at. What that is the town of Three Forks and the town of Manhattan every year.
Yeah.
Now, most of those are into the incorporated cities of the county, but some of them are out in the rural areas as well.
Yeah.
And so, you have to provide services for those people, right? They still, when they call 911, they still expect somebody to answer the phone. When they want to register their vehicle, they still expect somebody to be there. So
I think it's really interesting that, we're bigger than Rhode Island. We're bigger than Delaware. I know Rhode Island, I think, has 5 counties.
Yeah.
5 sheriffs. Obviously they have a bigger population than we do to service that.
Yeah. And a different setup to a lot of them too. Montana prides itself on our independence, and I would not be the one that would want to go to Rosebud County and say, I'm sorry, you're going in with Custer County.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to be popular.
No, that would not work. So let's take another phone call. Then we got to take a break. Caller, you're on the air with Don Seifert. What's going on?
Just a quick question for Don. I'm just wondering what your feelings are, and, not to say anything bad about the city, but what's going on with all the annexation of county into the city? Are they really not doing as well as they could be doing with their budgets? Why is that happening? Do you think it's necessary? And what's the future look like with all that? Thanks a lot.
Okay. Thanks for the call. Yeah. That's a question for all. They're going to get hit with impact fees. They're going to get hit with sidewalks and curbs and gutters and sewer and lights and the whole 9 yards.
Yeah. And I don't wish to talk for the city. I think my understanding is that the city feels that those inholdings, those properties that are technically in the county jurisdiction, they're already driving on the streets. They're already using lots of city infrastructures. It is sort of a pain in the neck, I'm sure, for the city when they're out plowing streets to be plowing Durston and then not have to plow, Western or Valley Drive, and I'm sure that there's issues there. I know up around the university, there's some inholdings up there that the city doesn't ticket on, and I'm sure there's issues with that. They do under statute have a way to annex those. I would maybe do it different than what they're doing, but I'm not going to argue with what they're doing.
Okay.
How they're doing it.
How much debt does the city have or the county have?
We're almost at a record low.
But I mean, you've got some.
We've certainly.
Are you able to service it?
Oh, wow. Yeah. We've got the we have got the capability if you use the standard formulas for governments, we are able to borrow or bond for up to $400 million, something like that. And I think we're around 30 million that we've got out there by the time you count what's left on the open space bonds, what's left on the detention center. So financially, Gallatin County is probably the best financial shape of any county in the state.
The reason I ask is thank the commissioners from our text line 478-8298. Thanks to the commissioners for our debt increase. Tell them they should just borrow the funds because debt's not a problem.
Sure,
which I've said it's not.
Sure.
It's not a problem if you can service the debt.
Sure, and then let me tell you how that works. State statute says that any time that we commit ourselves to more than $2 million, we have to go to the public
voters
and get their approval to do that. So could we go out and borrow $59 million and pay it off? Yeah, we could. We really could. But state law, and we kind of think it's important to follow the laws.
Said
no, you got to ask the voters.
You got to go to the voters. So that's what we did.
Yep.
And Yeah, you should just cut taxes and borrow the money like the feds do. So,
if we could print money, that'd be kind of cool.
Well, well, before the Federal Reserve, cities and counties did print their own money. Maybe you should just do that anyway.
We can try it.
Why not?
Sure.
Let's take another call real quick, and then we got to take a break. Caller, you on the air with Don Seifert. What's going on?
Well, good morning. Resident on Western Drive, and I want to make a correction regarding snow plowing and street maintenance of Western Drive specifically. It is under the oversight of the engineering firm Morrison Meyerly, and Morrison Meyerly has subcontracted out snow plowing on our street, and we have not had a city snow plow on our street for, I'm guessing, at least 10 years, quite possibly more. I've lived on this street since 79, and we did have city plows doing our plowing once upon a time, but it's been so long ago that I don't recall when the last time was. But
yeah,
that's important.
Yeah,
that's an important detail because
it is.
Yeah. I don't want to be annexed into the city.
I was going to ask you I was going to ask you, sir. What do you and your neighbors think of this? And has the city given you any indication of, they want to hit you with some pretty big fees? Have they hit you with any kind of a payment schedule or anything like that is reasonable for, that you don't lose your home or whatever?
Specifically, payment schedule, no, but they at least went so far as to make us aware that there is a city meeting on the subject of formulation of annexation policy that is later on this month. But having lived here in Bozeman since 76 and just having had time to observe things, I'm extremely guarded and uneasy about what kind of a policy is going to come together because I've seen so many big city elitist ideas in the city commission over the time that we've lived here, and I'm going to say it scares me because I don't scare easy, but it just makes me really on guard because so many things coming out of leftward-leaning public policy direction are so authoritarian, and on that note, I'll hang up and let my blood pressure come down a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, and the caller was right. Most of these in-holdings.
Thanks for the call. Yeah.
Most of these in-holdings do have an RID, a maintenance RID, and the Morrison Meyerly. Generally, there's other engineering firms, but generally Morrison Meyerly works that out to do the plowing, the maintenance on the street, all that type of stuff. So the caller was right there. As far as a policy, it would be my guess that the policy is already formulated and that
they've already made up their mind.
They already know what they're doing.
They're come January when it's 5-0 vote. They're ready to rock and roll. That's my fear too.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Don, for coming in. We got to take a break here. We really appreciate you coming in, taking the heat as usual, and we'll see you next week.
Well, and I want to say it's Veterans Day weekend. God bless all the veterans out there. I really appreciate what they've done, and Tom, I know you're a veteran. Thank you very much.
All right, you're very welcome. All right, thanks a lot. All right, we'll be back with more, and we'll continue on with 5 things you need to know, Shane, right after this. So stay tuned. We're back. It's Friday, November 8th, 35 degrees outside, looking for a high of 55 degrees today. Northwestern Energy is looking for a $6.5 million rate increase. The Montana Public Service Commission has approved that for Northwestern Energy customers. It's less than 20% of the increase the utility wanted, Shane. They wanted 20% more than $6 million. or they wanted 80% more than $6 million. So, but the commission on October 30th approved the rate increase, which is part of the settlement brought by Northwestern and several customer groups that interviewed in the utility's proposal to raise taxes by $34 million a year. Commissioners had granted an interim $10 million increase, but The Billings Gazette filed a public information request for details about the commission's decision after Commissioner Roger Koopman of Bozeman contacted the newspaper to see if an official announcement had been made, and the final order will be due the day after Christmas. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Northwestern customers. And Commissioner Terry O'Donnell of Billings said he questioned whether the benefits of the settlement were fairly distributed. Large customers will see about a 7% rate decrease in their bills, and I guess the rest of us will pay the big bucks. So. We went a little long with Don, so we got to get the Rush update in here. So we'll be right back. Here's Rush. 4 minutes before the top of the hour. It is Friday, November 8, 2019. We've got a caller patiently waiting on the line. Caller, you are on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
Yeah, this is Bob. I couldn't let Daniel get away with his misunderstandings of finance, because I was in that business for quite a few years.
In the mortgage business, I assume. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
When you stop and figure you want someone to loan you money for 30 years, and the $2,000 in America right now is only worth 68 cents of what it was in 2000, who is going to loan you money at zero interest so you can make money on the appreciation of the house and also be able to spend your money and not lose any money because of inflation?
Excellent point. Yeah.
He doesn't understand it. And my last one, because I know you got to go. Nobody puts a gun to anybody's head to buy a house.
That's for sure. Yep.
So they open. In fact, if you really want to get technical, there's a 3-day right of rescission, so they can even think about it after they sign for it.
That's fair.
Sounds like a deal to me. All right.
You Swiss knives keep sharp over the weekend, and I'll see you next week.
All right.
All right, buddy. Okay.
All right. Great call to end the week on, Shane. That was a good one there. So let's see from our text line. Yay, business lobby pays less in power and we get screwed, just like the GOP tax cut scam. County debt is from mill levies that we vote for, not to pay for services because they cut taxes lower than expenses. Big difference. The county debt is for projects, not operations. Bonds that we voted for, no debt to pay for services. Again, if debt isn't a problem, why do we raise our taxes? We should lower them and just borrow the money. The way the federal government operates, stick the debt to future generations. We'll be dead, so who cares? That's the way I feel, Shane. I will be dead. I don't care, So, it's been fun talking about debt all week,
Yes.
Yeah.
And now everybody understands it.
Of course they do. Yeah. I hope so.
I'd like to think so. Yeah.
Yeah. It's no big deal because nobody's talking about it except us.
That's right.
So, I don't know when the candidates start campaigning on cutting the debt, then maybe we'll pay attention. But until then, we're just fine. So take it easy.
Well,
out
like
there.
I said, we got another gold star. At some point, someone's going to want to syndicate us because we've been ahead of everybody for 5 years. That's incredible.
Well, we did call Bloomberg, certainly, a few months back. We thought for sure that he would get in the race. We kind of thought he would get in when Biden got out, but Biden is doing so badly. It's just a matter of time, I think, before Biden is, I think Iowa may be his downfall. He may quit after that, or certainly after New Hampshire. And
well, it's only down to 9 million. So
he doesn't have the money. He does have the name recognition and all that. He may be able to survive on that, but not very long, I don't think. Against these other folks that are raising a lot more than he is. And Elizabeth's not giving up. Bernie's not giving up, and they've got the money. So
Booker and Camilla are gone.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right. Yeah. Say goodbye, Shane.
I look forward to it. Have a great weekend. Welcome home.
All right.
We'll talk Monday about Veterans Day.
All right. Thanks a lot. All right. That's going to do it for us. We'll see everybody bright and early Monday morning, 6 a.m.